Daniel Cross never thought his life would change after retirement. He was 60 years old, tired of city noise and ready to spend his remaining years in quiet peace. When the letter came, telling him that his late uncle had left him a small hunting cabin in the mountains, he did not think much of it. He packed his old pickup truck with tools, food supplies, and a heavy coat, and drove north. The cabin stood deep in the woods, surrounded by tall pine trees and endless silence. It was small, built from rough logs that had darkened with age. Moss clung to the roof. The windows were dusty, and the porch sagged when Daniel stepped on it. To him it looked ordinary, nothing more than an old wooden box sitting on land that most people had forgotten. But something about the place felt strange. The air buzzed faintly when he first unlocked the door. His compass, which he carried for hiking, spun in circles instead of pointing north. Even the birds seemed to avoid the area. They stayed in the distance as if they did not want to fly near the cabin. Daniel shook his head. Old houses creak, old land has quirks. Nothing strange about that. Inside, the cabin smelled of dust and pine. Cobwebs filled the corners. The furniture was simple: a table, 2 chairs, and a small bed with a wool blanket. He set down his backpack, rolled up his sleeves, and started cleaning. For the first 2 days, life was ordinary. He fixed broken floorboards, chopped wood for the fireplace, and made himself coffee on a rusted stove. Yet the feeling never went away. At night, when he lay in bed, he heard faint humming beneath the floor. It was not the sound of pipes or wind. It was deeper, steady, like the vibration of a machine. Sometimes the bed even trembled slightly, as if the earth itself was breathing. On the 3rd morning, while repairing the floor near the fireplace, Daniel's hammer slipped and struck the boards harder than intended. A hollow thunk echoed back. He paused. He hit the spot again, yes, hollow. Kneeling, he pried the planks open with his crowbar. Instead of dirt, he saw a flat metal surface. It was smooth, silver gray, and cool to the touch. He brushed away dust and wood chips, revealing a panel that stretched wider than the fireplace. Strange patterns were carved into it, glowing faintly blue when his fingers touched them. Daniel's heart beat faster. This isn't natural. This isn't part of the cabin. He kept pulling boards away, uncovering more of the hidden surface. Soon he found what looked like a rectangular outline, like the top of a hatch. In the center was a small round indentation. Without thinking, he pressed his palm against it. The metal warmed beneath his hand. Then came a sound. Soft, mechanical clicks, and the hatch slid open with a hiss of air. A rush of cool wind rose from the darkness below. The descent at first, Daniel hesitated. He had expected nothing more than a root cellar or storage space. Instead, a dark shaft yawned beneath him, lined with more of the strange smooth metal. Lights glowed faintly along the walls, guiding downward like steps into another world. He grabbed a flashlight, tested the strength of the ladder built into the shaft, and began to climb. The deeper he went, the stronger the hum became. It vibrated through the metal walls, through his hands, and even into his bones. At the bottom, he stepped into a corridor. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls were curved, as if carved from a single piece of metal. Blue lines pulsed softly like veins carrying light. Dust covered the floor, but the air was surprisingly clean, not stale like an old basement. "Good God," Daniel whispered. He walked slowly, his flashlight beam bouncing along the curved walls. The corridor opened into a wide chamber. Here the floor was black glass, smooth and reflective. In the center stood a console, shaped like a half-circle with glowing symbols that changed as he looked at them. It was a ship, a vessel buried deep beneath the cabin. The first contact, Daniel approached the console. The symbols did not look like any language he knew. They shifted and rearranged themselves, almost alive. When he reached out, the panel lit up brighter, reacting to his presence. A sudden hum filled the chamber, louder than before. The floor beneath his feet trembled. From the far wall, a holographic display flickered to life. A 3-dimensional image of stars, planets, and lines connecting them. Daniel stumbled back, his heart racing. The ship was not dead. It was still alive, waiting. He backed toward the corridor, but the image followed him. The star map rotated slowly, then zoomed in on Earth. A blue dot pulsed brighter and brighter until it filled the chamber. Then a line of glowing text appeared in front of him. Not English, not any human script, but somehow he understood. Resonance confirmed. Daniel froze. He had not heard a voice, yet the meaning was clear in his mind. The ship was speaking to him. Resonance? He whispered. What the hell does that mean? The hologram shifted again. This time it displayed a human figure, standing with arms outstretched. Lights highlighted the chest, the head, the hands. Then another line of text appeared. Interface compatible. Awaiting command. Doubt and discovery. Daniel's legs weakened. He sat on the floor trying to catch his breath. None of this made sense. He was just an old engineer, not a scientist or astronaut. Why would an alien ship respond to him? He stayed in the chamber for hours, testing small things. When he touched certain parts of the console, doors opened along the walls, revealing other rooms filled with strange seats and panels. Some doors refused to open at all, blinking red when he approached. One chamber looked like a control room. It had a wide curved window, though all Daniel saw was dirt and stone pressed against it. Another chamber held empty pods like beds, large enough for people. He recorded everything with his phone, snapping photos and taking shaky videos. But when he checked them later, the images were scrambled, glowing blurs instead of clear shapes. The ship did not want to be recorded. By the time he climbed back to the cabin, night had fallen. He sat on the porch staring at the stars. His hands still trembled. This changes everything, he thought. The cabin is just a cover. What's under it? That's what matters. The weight of secrets. Over the next week, Daniel explored further each day. He brought notebooks, sketching what he saw since cameras failed. He mapped the corridors, counted the pods, traced the glowing lines along the walls. The more he explored, the more he noticed something strange. The ship seemed to respond to him personally. When he touched the panels, lights activated. When he left, they dimmed again. It was as if the vessel recognized him. One evening, after hours underground, he returned to the cabin to find his compass spinning wildly again. He placed it on the metal hatch. The needle froze in place, pointing straight down. That's where north is now. Daniel muttered to himself. The secret grew heavier each day. Should he tell someone? The government? A university? A friend? But deep down he feared what would happen if he did. Men in black suits would take the ship away, hide it, or worse, turn it into a weapon. For now, he decided it would remain his secret. But secrets do not stay hidden forever. The first warning on the 10th day, while standing in the main chamber, Daniel felt the hum shift in tone. It grew sharper like an alarm. The star map appeared again, zooming outward this time, showing distant constellations. Red lines blinked across the map, pointing toward Earth. Then the words formed once more. External signal detected. Proximity increasing. Daniel swallowed hard. Something or someone out there had noticed the ship waking up, and they were coming closer. He looked around the chamber, his reflection trembling on the black glass floor. The ordinary cabin above no longer mattered. The life he had lived before no longer mattered. Everything had changed the moment he opened that hatch. The next morning, Daniel woke early, but not because of birds or sunlight. It was the humming, louder now, steady and strong, like the sound of a giant machine buried in the earth. He sat on the porch of the cabin with his coffee, staring at the ground beneath his feet. He knew what was there, a ship, an alien ship. But what did it mean when the ship told him, external signal detected? Proximity increasing? Was something out in space searching for it? Or worse, coming to Earth? Curiosity over fear, Daniel told himself he should be afraid. A sensible man would have left the cabin, gone back to the city, and told no one. But curiosity pushed him forward. He had been an engineer all his life, building bridges, repairing machines, solving puzzles. This was the greatest puzzle of all. So once again he opened the hatch and climbed down into the metal shaft. The blue veins of light on the walls glowed brighter than before, as if the ship was awake now, no longer resting. When he stepped into the main chamber, the console activated without him touching it. The star map spread across the air. Stars twinkled, planets spun, and the red lines blinked again, pointing inward toward Earth. He swallowed. "What are you trying to tell me?" he whispered. The answer came as glowing text. Signal lock confirmed. Time estimate, 22 cycles. Daniel frowned. 22 cycles? What does that mean? Hours, days? No reply. The ship only hummed louder. Testing the vessel, he decided to learn more. If the ship was alive, if it truly could respond, then he needed to know its secrets before anyone else did. In the following days, Daniel tested everything. He discovered how to open hidden panels along the walls. Inside were strange tools, smooth rods and crystal-like devices that pulsed when he held them. He did not understand their function, but he drew sketches in his notebook. He found a chamber filled with glowing liquid tanks. The ship projected words into his mind. Stasis, medical. He realized these were healing pods meant to protect life. He learned how to light the corridors fully. When he placed both hands on the main console, the entire underground vessel glowed like daylight, and then came the strangest discovery. When he spoke to the ship, not out loud, but in his thoughts it sometimes answered. Not with sound, but with flashes of symbols he somehow understood. This thing isn't just a machine, Daniel thought. It's aware. The cabin above life above the surface grew uneasy. The forest felt different. Birds stayed away completely now, leaving the woods silent. Sometimes at night, Daniel saw faint glows under the ground, as if the earth itself was lit from below. One evening, while chopping wood, he noticed tracks in the mud. Not animal tracks, boot prints. Someone had been near the cabin. He froze, axe in hand, scanning the tree line. Nobody was there, but the feeling of being watched pressed heavily on him. Daniel knew he had a choice: tell someone before it was too late, or keep the secret and risk everything. He chose the middle path. Reaching out, Daniel drove into the nearest town, 2 hours away. In a small cafe, he met Sarah Blake, an old friend and local journalist. She was the only person he trusted. They had worked together years ago when she covered stories about engineering projects. Over coffee, he leaned closer and whispered, "Sarah, I've found something unusual at the cabin." She raised an eyebrow. Unusual how? He hesitated. He wanted to tell her the truth, but how could he say there's a spaceship under my floor without sounding insane? So he said only, "Strange machinery. Old, not from around here." "I think it's important," Sarah smiled faintly. "Daniel, you always love puzzles. But if you found something real, you need to be careful. People will come for it. People who won't let you keep it." Her words struck deep. He nodded slowly. "That's what I'm afraid of." He left the cafe without telling her the full truth, but just speaking to someone lifted a little of the weight. The first activation back at the cabin, Daniel returned to the ship. He placed his hand on the console, and for the first time, the holographic star map shifted into something new. It showed Earth from above, clouds swirling around blue oceans. Then it zoomed out, showing the moon, then Mars, then the whole solar system. A thin red line appeared, stretching from the edge of the system toward Earth. Signal approaching. Origin unknown. Daniel's chest tightened. "They're coming." The ship pulsed in response. Then to his shock, the entire chamber trembled. The black glass floor vibrated, dust falling from the ceiling. Slowly, painfully, the whole vessel shifted upward by only a few inches before sinking back into place. Daniel stumbled. The ship had tried to move. "It's alive," he whispered. "And it wants to leave. Visitors." 3 days later, the silence of the forest broke. A pair of black SUVs drove up the old dirt path and stopped near the cabin. 4 men stepped out wearing plain suits and dark glasses. Daniel watched from the porch, pretending to sip coffee. One of the men called out, "Mr. Cross, we're from the Geological Survey. We've had reports of unusual readings in this area. Magnetic interference, seismic tremors. We'd like to take a look." Daniel's stomach twisted. They weren't from the Geological Survey. He could see it in their sharp movements, the way they scanned the trees. They knew something was here. He forced a smile. "I haven't noticed anything unusual. Just fixing up the place. You're welcome to look around, though." The men walked around the cabin, their instruments beeping faintly. Daniel's heart pounded. If they found the hatch, everything would be over. But luck was with him. After an hour, they packed up. One of them gave him a cold stare before saying, "If you notice anything strange, Mr. Cross, call us immediately." Daniel nodded. He didn't even ask for a number. The SUVs drove off, leaving him alone again. But now he knew. The secret was no longer safe. The choice that night, Daniel sat in the control chamber staring at the star map. The red line was closer now. Whatever was coming, it would arrive soon. And now humans were sniffing around as well. He felt trapped between 2 forces, the unknown visitors from space and the hungry eyes of Earth's governments. He clenched his fists. No, this ship doesn't belong to them. It doesn't belong to anyone. It chose me. The console pulsed as if answering his words. Light spread through the chamber, flowing into the walls. Suddenly, Daniel felt something invade his mind. Not painful, but overwhelming. Images flashed before his eyes. Stars burning out, battles in space, fleets of ships colliding, worlds falling silent. And then the vision of Earth, small and fragile, waiting in the dark. His knees weakened and he fell against the console. The images faded, leaving only one final word in his head. Prepare. A dangerous secret. The next morning, Daniel woke with a decision. He would not run, and he would not hand over the ship. He would learn everything he could as quickly as possible. He returned to the healing chamber, the stasis pods, the control deck. He touched every symbol, tested every command, forced himself to remember every detail. The ship responded, slowly teaching him. It was not just a machine of war. It had maps of the galaxy, records of stars long gone, archives of knowledge and symbols that hurt his head to read but filled him with awe. At times he felt as if the ship was learning from him too. Its responses became smoother, quicker, almost conversational. By the 7th day, he no longer felt like a trespasser. He felt like a captain. The signal grows stronger one night, the console activated by itself. Daniel rushed into the chamber and saw the star map glowing red. The line of approach was inside the solar system now. Contact in 3 cycles, his heart pounded. 3 days. Whoever or whatever was coming would arrive in 3 days. Daniel stared at the map, his hands shaking. The ordinary cabin was gone in his mind. There was no ordinary anymore. The ship was real, the danger was real, and his quiet life had ended. 3 days to prepare. The 3 days passed faster than Daniel expected. Every hour the ship reminded him of the countdown. Symbols appeared on the console, glowing red marks, each one fading away as time moved forward. By the final night, he barely slept. He sat in the control chamber staring at the star map. The red line had reached the inner solar system now. The words glowed clearly in his mind. Contact, imminent. Daniel's breath was heavy. He had seen many things in life. Bridges collapsing, machines breaking down, storms tearing through cities, but nothing prepared him for this. Someone or something was about to arrive from the stars. The arrival, the next morning, the forest grew silent. The usual wind through the pines was gone. Even the insects had disappeared. Daniel stood outside the cabin, coffee in hand, pretending to be calm. But then the sky split. At first he thought it was thunder. A deep rumble shook the ground. Birds exploded out of the far valley in a wild cloud. Then a shape appeared above the clouds, massive and silver, descending slowly. It was a ship, sleek, longer than any skyscraper, glowing with pale light. Unlike the buried vessel beneath Daniel, this one was whole and alive. It hovered above the forest, casting a shadow across the mountain. Daniel whispered, "They're here." The buried ship reacted immediately. The hatch inside the cabin opened on its own, and the hum grew louder, sharper. Lights pulsed along the walls as if the hidden vessel was calling out to its sibling above. Daniel rushed inside, climbing down into the control chamber. The console activated before he touched it. The star map vanished, replaced by a single glowing message. External vessel detected. Initiating contact protocol. First encounter, the chamber's air shimmered. Suddenly, a figure appeared before Daniel. Not a solid body, but a hologram. It was tall, thin, with gray skin and large, dark eyes. Its movements were slow, graceful, and its voice echoed directly into his head. "You are not of the Makers," the being said. "Yet the ship responds to you." Daniel swallowed hard. I found it. It was buried here. I don't know why it listens to me." The alien tilted its head. "It listens because you resonate. That is rare among your kind." Daniel frowned. "My kind, you mean humans?" The alien nodded. "Your species was not expected to awaken this vessel. Yet here you are." The ship pulsed beneath their feet. Another message appeared in Daniel's mind. Not from the alien, but from the vessel itself. Demonstrate capability. Prove worth. Daniel's chest tightened. He realized what this was. It was a test. The ship was not simply giving itself away. It wanted proof that humans could use it. And the alien visitor seemed ready to judge. The challenge. The hologram raised a long, thin hand. Instantly, panels along the chamber walls lit up, opening into new systems Daniel had not seen before. Strange symbols floated in the air. This vessel requires a pilot, the alien said. It requires adaptability, intelligence, and resilience. The makers failed because they could not change. They perished. You, human, can you adapt? Daniel licked his dry lips. I can try. The console shifted, forming controls that looked almost like levers and wheels, shapes familiar to human hands. He realized the ship was reshaping itself for him. The alien's eyes glowed faintly. Show me. First flight, Daniel placed both hands on the controls. The chamber vibrated. Symbols flashed. He felt pressure in his chest as if the ship was breathing with him. All right, he muttered. Let's see if you can fly. He pulled a lever. The buried ship groaned. Dust fell from the ceiling as the entire chamber shook. The floor tilted slightly, then stabilized. The hologram remained calm. Again, Daniel tried a different control. This time the vibration grew stronger. The floor rose an inch, then another. Dirt rumbled against the walls as the vessel pushed against the earth. For a moment, the ship lifted free. The cabin above cracked, wood snapping loudly as the buried vessel pressed upward, but then it sank again, resting back in its hole. Daniel gasped, sweat running down his forehead. It's too heavy. It's stuck, the alien's voice echoed. You are not using strength. Use your creativity. The ship will respond to how you think, not only to how you push. Daniel closed his eyes. He pictured the ship not as a machine trapped under dirt, but as a bird trapped under branches. He imagined clearing a path, letting it rise lightly instead of forcing it. The console pulsed. The floor trembled. This time the ship rose higher, 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet. The cabin above exploded into splinters as the vessel broke free of the ground. For the first time in thousands of years, the ship saw the sky. Daniel laughed out loud, amazed. It worked. Humanity's trial, but the alien was not finished. To command this vessel, you must show more than flight. You must show resilience. The hologram raised its hand. The massive ship hovering above the forest reacted. A beam of light shot down, striking the ground near Daniel's vessel. The earth shook, trees collapsed, and fire erupted. Daniel's heart pounded. What are you doing? Testing, the alien replied calmly. Defend yourself. The console lit up with new symbols. Daniel didn't understand them, but the ship guided him. His hand moved to a glowing circle, and suddenly the vessel projected a shield, a dome of blue energy that blocked the next beam of light. The forest outside trembled under the impact, but the ship held firm. Daniel grinned, wild with adrenaline. All right then. You want a trial? Let's see what we can do. He pressed another control. The vessel responded by firing a pulse of white light upward. It struck the larger ship, shaking it slightly. The alien hologram tilted its head. You learn quickly. Your kind is different. The turning point hours passed. Daniel trained with the ship, guided by both the alien and the vessel itself. He learned to raise shields, to fire controlled blasts, to hover, and to turn. The buried ship was not just a weapon, it was flexible, responsive, alive. But the alien warned him. Others will come. Not all will test you. Some will destroy you. Your species must be ready. Daniel wiped sweat from his brow. Then teach me more. I need to be ready before they arrive. The alien's dark eyes softened. It is not only about you. It is about your people. Alone you cannot succeed. Together, perhaps. The words echoed in Daniel's mind long after the hologram faded. Humanity watches by the next day. News had already spread. People in the nearby town reported a glowing object in the mountains. Military planes flew overhead. Cameras pointed toward the forest. Daniel stood on the deck of the ship, hidden inside the cockpit, watching helicopters circle at a distance. The world now knew something extraordinary had happened, but none of them knew the truth, that the ship only answered to him. The message. That night, the vessel projected one final message across the chamber wall. Trial complete. Resonance confirmed. Human adaptability sufficient. Awaiting command. Daniel stared at the glowing words. He felt pride, fear, and wonder all at once. He was not chosen because he was strong or powerful or famous. He was chosen because he was human. He whispered, "What happens now?" The console pulsed. The answer came. The buried ship had risen, and the cabin above was now nothing more than broken wood and splintered logs. Daniel Cross stood on the control deck, staring out at the mountains and the approaching world. The vessel beneath him had revealed its power. It could fly, shield itself, and communicate, but the challenge had only just begun. The alien hologram had vanished, leaving him with one undeniable truth. Humans had passed the first trial, but the real test was coming. Earth notices by morning. The mountain forest was alive with activity. Drones circled overhead. Military helicopters hovered at a distance. Unmarked black vehicles sped along the winding roads. Word of a strange glowing object had reached local authorities, scientists, and soon the media. Daniel knew he could not hide the ship. It was too large, too powerful, too alive. Inside the cockpit, he activated the ship's sensors. The readings were staggering. Dozens of human-made craft were converging from the nearest towns, the airspace, and even nearby military bases. Satellites tracked something unusual, sending data back to command centers across the country. Daniel clenched his fists. "They don't understand it," he muttered. "They think it's a weapon, not a living vessel, and they were right to be afraid." But he also knew the ship was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a bridge, a tool for exploration, and a challenge to anyone who thought humans could not rise to greatness. The first confrontation. The first jets arrived at noon. They flew in tight formation, scanning the mountains. Daniel opened the vessel's control panel, and the ship responded instantly, moving with fluid grace. The metal walls pulsed blue, creating a faint barrier that made radar detection nearly impossible. When the jets fired warning flares, the ship reacted. It did not attack but formed an energy shield, deflecting the flares harmlessly into the sky. Daniel realized this was a teaching moment. The humans approaching were not yet enemies, they were tests themselves. Could humanity act with caution, not aggression? He opened the communications array, speaking to them in the language he had learned from the ship itself. His voice echoed in the valley. "This is Daniel Cross," he said. "The ship is not a threat. I am the only one it responds to. Please do not fire." The jets hesitated. Their pilots were trained to attack unknown objects. But something in the ship's energy signature, alive, intelligent, different, made them pause. It was the first proof that humans could approach danger with wisdom, not just force. Rising tensions by evening, more forces arrived. News helicopters circled, transmitting live images to the world. Military officials debated in real time whether to intervene, contain, or destroy. Local governments tried to coordinate, but the situation was chaotic. Daniel climbed to the observation deck, staring at the sky. He felt the weight of his responsibility. He was not just protecting himself. He was protecting the future of humanity. The ship pulsed around him. It seemed aware of his emotions, responding to his fear, his resolve, his courage. They don't understand yet, Daniel thought. I have to show them what humans can do, without violence. Human ingenuity, Daniel realized brute force would never win against organized military power. He needed strategy. Using the ship's holographic interface, he began mapping the surrounding area. He saw narrow valleys, rock formations, and forested hills. With careful calculation, he could maneuver the vessel to demonstrate its abilities without hurting anyone. He practiced small maneuvers, hovering just above treetops, creating light pulses in patterns visible from the valley below. Each display was a message. Humans could control this power responsibly. When a group of journalists arrived, Daniel allowed them a glimpse of the ship's abilities, without revealing its full potential. The videos they recorded went viral. People around the world watched a machine that was alive and controlled by a single human being. It changed public perception. Fear turned to awe. Humanity was no longer just observers of the universe, they were participants. The alien perspective, unknown to Daniel, the alien vessel that had arrived days earlier remained in orbit, observing Earth from afar. The being's perspective was clear. Humans were capable, unpredictable, and adaptable. Unlike other species it had encountered, humans could improvise, learn quickly, and work together in ways the alien had not expected. The hologram had explained it earlier. Creativity is rare. You possess it. Others may destroy. You may survive. Now the alien saw the proof. Daniel's calm under pressure, his ability to reason instead of panic, and his ingenuity in handling the approaching human forces were evidence that humanity could be trusted with the ship's power. The rising crisis. Despite Daniel's careful demonstration, not everyone believed him. A private military contractor arrived with armored vehicles prepared to seize the vessel. Their plan was simple: destroy resistance and claim the ship for themselves. Daniel knew he could not fight them with force. It would start a war, and the ship would be a weapon in human hands rather than a bridge to the stars. Instead, he used the vessel's advanced abilities in clever ways. He created illusions using energy reflections, making the vehicles appear to be in multiple places at once. He sent pulses that disabled engines temporarily, not harming anyone but forcing vehicles to stop. He projected holographic maps showing escape routes, guiding people away from danger. Every move demonstrated something humans often overlooked: creativity. Not strength, not weapons, but thinking, adapting, and acting together. Cooperation over conflict. By nightfall, the situation had changed. Forces that had arrived with suspicion now hesitated. Soldiers and officials began speaking to one another, realizing the ship's power could be a tool rather than a threat. Daniel climbed to the control deck again, looking out over the valley. The ship hummed beneath him as if approving of his decisions. He realized something important. Humans had to cooperate. Not just with the ship, but with each other. If they turned against one another, they would fail. But if they worked together, they could protect the vessel, learn from it, and begin humanity's first steps toward the stars. Preparing for the future, the alien had told him, "Your people must be ready." Others will come. Daniel understood now. The others were not just from Earth, they were from space. The buried vessel was a key, and anyone who knew of it could try to take it. Humanity needed to prove that it could rise to the challenge. He began organizing a small team: scientists, engineers, and a few trusted friends who had already learned the secret. Together they mapped the ship, cataloged its systems, and trained with it. The ship responded to their collective efforts, adapting to new strategies, teaching them slowly but deliberately. For the first time, humans were no longer passive recipients of technology. They were active participants in a living, intelligent vessel. The message late at night. The console glowed brighter than ever. A new message appeared in Daniel's mind, not in words but in images. Stars exploded into life. Ships moved silently between galaxies. Worlds rotated beneath unseen suns. And then one small blue planet appeared. Earth. A line connected it to the distant stars. A symbol appeared above it, a human hand reaching outward. Daniel understood immediately. This was a mission. Humans were not meant to stay in one place. They were meant to explore, to adapt, to surprise the universe with their creativity and resilience. He whispered, "We are ready. We have to be ready." The ship pulsed beneath him, responding to his resolve. Its hum filled the valley like a heartbeat. Earth was watching. The aliens were watching. And humanity, for the first time, was proving itself worthy. A new dawn. By morning, the valley had quieted. Most of the military had retreated, unsure of what to do. The local townspeople watched from a safe distance, witnessing something they could never forget. One human, guiding a living vessel, protecting it without aggression, proving that humanity was capable of greatness. Daniel stood on the observation deck, exhausted but determined. The cabin above was gone. The forest bore scars, but the ship lived, and so did hope. He had survived the trial of humanity on Earth. Now he would face the next challenge. The galaxy itself. The buried ship had awakened, and with it humanity's journey had truly begun. The sun rose over the mountain valley, painting the forest with golden light. Daniel Cross stood on the observation deck of the ship, now fully awake and hovering just above the ground. The ordinary cabin that had once hidden the vessel was gone, splintered and broken, leaving only memories of quiet wood and dust. Yet the cabin had not been ordinary. It had been a doorway, a beginning, and now Daniel and the ship faced a future larger than Earth itself, preparing for departure. The days after the confrontation with Earth's military passed quickly. Scientists, engineers, and a few trusted friends formed a small team. Together they cataloged the ship's systems, tested its responses, and practiced simple maneuvers. Every day the ship seemed to learn more, teaching them in subtle ways. Lights pulsed to indicate important systems, holograms displayed visual instructions, and the vessel shifted slightly to show the correct controls. Daniel marveled at how the ship seemed almost alive, reacting to their creativity. Not just following commands. It's learning with us. Not for us, Daniel said one evening, leaning against the control console. It's alive. We aren't just using it, we're part of it. Sarah Blake, the journalist who had helped him early on, nodded. And we need to protect it. This isn't just a machine. It's proof that humans can rise to the stars. A world watching. The news of the vessel spread across the globe. Governments scrambled to understand it. Scientists debated whether it was alien technology or something even older. Ordinary people watched videos of the ship hovering above the mountains, controlled by a single human. But Daniel refused to let humanity treat the vessel as a weapon. He knew its value was in exploration, in teaching humans to be adaptable, creative, and united. He contacted global leaders not to surrender the ship, but to ask for cooperation. This is not about nations, he said in a broadcast that reached millions. It is about humanity. Together we can learn from it, grow with it, and use it to explore, not destroy. The response was mixed. Some leaders wanted to seize it. Others agreed that it must remain a neutral tool for all humanity. Daniel realized the path forward would be difficult but necessary. Humanity's first step into the stars weeks passed, and the ship responded to Daniel and his team with increasing sophistication. It projected star maps across the cabin chamber, highlighting routes to nearby planets and moons. Symbols marked habitable zones, areas with resources, and regions of potential danger. For the first time, Daniel understood the ship's purpose. It was not a weapon. It was a bridge for humans to reach beyond Earth, to explore, to learn, and to prove themselves to the universe. One clear night, Daniel and his team initiated the vessel's first jump. The hum beneath them rose to a steady roar. Lights flared along the walls, pulsing in rhythm with their combined heartbeats. The ship lifted into the sky, moving effortlessly past clouds and mountains. For a moment, the world seemed silent. Even the birds had returned, circling above the ship as it rose higher and higher. Then Daniel activated the jump sequence. The stars stretched, twisted, and the ship leaped from Earth's atmosphere into the vast blackness of space. Proving humanity in orbit, Daniel projected a hologram for the team. It displayed thousands of stars, many systems, and strange distant planets. Then came symbols they had never seen before. These are messages, Daniel explained, from other species, other civilizations, some friendly, some not. The ship is showing us the galaxy, teaching us the language of the universe, Sarah whispered. It's beautiful and terrifying, Daniel smiled. Exactly. And we can survive it because we are human. We adapt, we learn, we create solutions no one else expects. The ship pulsed, projecting another message. This time it was simple, a small human hand reaching outward toward the stars. Daniel understood immediately. This was the mission. Humans were not meant to stay on Earth. They were meant to explore, to reach beyond, to prove that their creativity and resilience were worthy of the universe. The test of trust as the ship traveled farther from Earth. Signals appeared, messages from alien civilizations. Some warned them away. Others offered guidance. Daniel realized that the vessel had chosen him not only to pilot it, but to represent humanity. He thought back to the alien hologram that had visited him weeks before. Creativity is rare. You possess it. Others may destroy. You may survive, now he understood. Humanity's trial was not just survival. It was the ability to act responsibly, to cooperate, to rise above instinctual fear and aggression. The universe would test them, but humans could meet the challenge. Daniel gathered the team. We represent all humans now. Our actions matter. We must show the galaxy that we are more than predators and competitors. We are creators, we are problem solvers, and we are ready. The journey beyond the ship glided past the moon, then Mars, then the asteroid belt. Each world held lessons: how to navigate gravity, how to mine resources safely, and how to survive in hostile environments. The vessel itself provided guidance. Pods healed minor injuries, energy shields protected them from cosmic radiation, and the holographic interface taught them mathematics and physics beyond human textbooks. Daniel realized that the ship was not just technology, it was a teacher. And humans, with their curiosity and ingenuity, were perfect students. Every problem they solved together, every maneuver they completed, every new discovery reinforced one undeniable truth. Humans could adapt where others failed. Humans could think where others obeyed. Humans could survive where others perished. Leaving a legacy, years passed, and Earth began to understand the significance of the vessel. International treaties ensured it remained under neutral control, while Daniel's team documented everything, training new generations of explorers. The cabin, long gone, remained a legend. People spoke of it as the place where humanity first touched the stars, the place where one man discovered that humans were capable of greatness beyond imagination. Daniel knew that the journey was only beginning. The ship would lead them to distant worlds, introduce them to civilizations they could never have imagined, and test them in ways no one on Earth could predict. Yet he was ready. Humanity was ready. The final moment, one quiet evening, Daniel stood on the observation deck staring at the blue planet below. The forests, mountains, and oceans seemed so small now, but he remembered the ordinary cabin, the hidden hatch, and the secret that had changed everything. The ship pulsed beneath him, a steady heartbeat of light and energy, and he knew one thing for certain: humans had been underestimated, not by the vessel alone, not by the aliens who had watched, and not by the universe itself. Humans were clever, adaptable, and determined. He whispered to the ship, "Let's go." The ship hummed in agreement. Lights flared. Energy filled the chambers. And with a smooth, silent motion, it leapt into the stars. Daniel smiled, knowing the cabin had been just the beginning. Somewhere, deep in the galaxy, other civilizations would soon notice humans. And they would learn one simple truth: Earth's children were clever, resourceful, and unstoppable. The ordinary cabin had hidden an extraordinary secret, and now humanity's story was only beginning.